Welcome to Vacation Rental Mastery, where your host, Karan Narang, guides you through harnessing vacation rental investments. Whether you're new to vacation rentals or expanding your portfolio, this podcast fuels your path to freedom. Join us in this movement to transform your life. Ready for change and legacy building? You're in the right place. Let's embark on this freedom journey and master vacation rental investing together.
So Hoan, welcome to this podcast. I'm looking forward to speaking with you today. Tell me a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Absolutely. So, like you said, my name is Hoan Thai, and I am an investor in Philadelphia. I've been an investor for the last 13 years. I've had one short-term rental in my life, which was one unit in a triplex, and I just wanted to try it out, but it was so much, I guess, operationally heavy day-to-day activity that I was no longer interested in. So I turned it right back into a long-term rental. I mainly have long-term rentals. I also invest in syndications. So that's also long-term rentals. I do some wholesaling when appropriate. And then I have an education program where I teach people how to become real estate investors as well. So
Okay,
a lot
that's
of
awesome.
long-term.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you do have multiple long-term units.
Yes.
So what's very interesting is you took a short term. Would you say that you enjoyed the benefits of having a short term from a cash flow perspective? You thought it was heavy on the operations side, but generally speaking, as an investment, did you feel it was a worthwhile investment except for your time?
No.
Okay.
No. Based
Uh,
on how much I was collecting per day or per couple of days or whatever it was,
mm-hmm.
multiplied by the amount of occupancy,
Yeah.
and then subtracting the amount of cost, we're talking very similar cash flow.
Okay.
And being that was the case, I was like, this is the same cash flow, much higher risk, in my opinion, and then um, and much more work. So overall, negative experience, very
Okay.
negative.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm sorry to hear that. What I usually find is that a lot of people who get into short-term rental, the expectation is that, the cash flow is going to be really significant and the operational overhead isn't as much. So one of the things that we do on this podcast is help people understand how you can really get freedoms. And we talk about the freedoms in the sense, not just financial freedom. We're talking about time freedom. We're talking about location freedom. We're talking about the freedom to work with people you want to work with, right? So the relationship freedom, and we talk about these freedoms and how it helps you achieve these freedoms. Now, yes, there's a lot of different variables that go into short-term rentals. The location of the property, the type of property, the type of amenities in the property, the potential clientele or who that guest avatar is to you, and how this whole experience is delivered to that client. So I'm sorry to hear that you didn't have the best possible experience. But I'll add in also that that I'm testimony to someone who's had an unbelievable experience with short-term rentals, to the point that I was able to actually in 3.5 years quit my full-time W-2 job, making over $500,000, and I'm still here, and I'm still building and continuing to build my short-term rental portfolio. So yes, it can be different experiences depending on the direction you pick. So Hon, tell me, what specifically can I help you with today?
Well, being that I know that different people have different experiences, I guess I would like to learn what it
Mm-hmm.
is that I don't know. Because right now I am slightly jaded in the sense that the management of it is much more intense, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have third party, because you have to manage the third party,
Mm-hmm.
the regulation risk is still very high. At least in
Mm-hmm.
my head, it is. At any point, any county, any government official can be like, no more, because it happened here in Philadelphia, where across the board they said, okay, short-term rentals, you need to be licensed a certain way.
Yep.
And in order to get that license, then you need this, and this. And it's like, just like that, the whole business changed. And imagine if the property that I buy only works as a short-term rental, and maybe that's number one, don't buy a property that only works as a short-term rental, because
Mm-hmm.
multiple exit strategies. But imagine like you buy this property and you have so much sunk in because you have to buy furniture and
Yeah,
everything else.
yeah,
And then all of a sudden you can't even do what you intended to do. And so I know some people pivoted and they went to like midterm or they just flipped the property and then they had a whole liquidation sale of all their furniture. But I've seen all of that from all of the people that I deal with. Like you and I, we both network with a lot of people, a lot of real estate investors. And
yeah.
I've seen a lot of Airbnb people get crushed in the last year, 2 years, 3 years.
So this is why I always say, when you're trying to get into a short-term rental, it needs to be very intentional. Okay. And what I mean by very intentional is when you are trying to get into short-term rental, it takes a certain type of property and a certain type of setup that is actually can be successful. Now, this is one of the reasons I'm not a personal fan of largely urban areas, right? So the big cities, I know there's a market for it. I know there's people who really enjoy investing in the big cities, but I just don't like the regulations. I don't like someone telling me how to run my business when it's my investment and what I'm trying to do. We're trying to maximize the return, and I don't need a market telling me you can't do this or can't do that, right? So in my opinion, I typically stay away from urban areas because you always run the risk. Now, on the flip side, for example, Dallas shut down. I live in Dallas, and Dallas shut down short-term rentals. But a market like Austin actually is allowing it now with permits, right? If you have
Mhm.
a market where the permit process exists and is very clearly defined and is not overly restrictive, it's not bad. You can still do it, and you can still do really well. So that's where, to me, selection of that market is absolutely critical. Now, coming back to your point earlier, is it worth it? Is it worth, you're jaded because of your past experience, right? So let me help you understand what it takes to truly run a short-term rental business. I can show you how short-term rentals have significantly higher cash flow than long-term rentals. This is exactly how I've been able to scale my portfolio to 9 units, and I'm managing about 20 units for other people because the cash flow is really high. I no longer have a very high W-2 income, and I can no longer, with single families, with multifamily, making a few $100s a door is very difficult for me to truly grow my portfolio and accelerate that growth in a quick manner, right? So I
Mhm.
use short-term rentals for that purpose. The key to short-term rentals is acquiring these properties the right way, putting in place the right systems and processes for operation. And there's a lot, by the way, unlike short-term rentals, you don't unlike long-term rentals, you don't just put it on Airbnb and just go there. You don't just list it on Zillow or Realtor and rent out a property and then forget about it. There is a lot that goes into short-term rentals. So when I first started investing in short-term rentals, when I put in my first property in place, I absolutely implemented all those processes and systems up front. Everything I could to systematize the process was critical. Today, I can add on an additional 20 to 25 units, no problem. I wouldn't have to change a single process, right? Because I have the systems, I have the people, and I have the processes. 80% of our systems are automated. We've got the people who are running the automated systems and continuing to onboard. We're onboarding new properties for management, but it's the same systems and processes. We're now incorporating AI into our systems and process because we want to streamline and optimize further. We want to improve our bandwidth and our capacity to take on new properties, right? So there is a possibility that done the right way, implemented the right way, with the knowledge of the right systems and processes, this can become a sustainable business, right? So, like I said, you didn't have the best experience, and there could be several factors that led to it. One, the urban area. Two, it was a triplex, and you were using one unit in the triplex to make this happen, right? It's not going to give you the best return, right? Um, so you've already had some not so great experiences,
Mhm.
but there's definitely a possibility. There's still markets out there that people are doing really well. So I'll give you an example. We manage a property in Florida, in Bradenton, right?
Mhm.
The price point on the property is about 600,000 a year. As a long-term investment, I'm going to take this example. So can you help me understand what would your expected rent be, give or take, even if you go with the 1% rule, right?
And you said the property costs 600,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so 1% rule, $6,000, right? $6,000 a month, if possible.
if
Which,
possible, which is really hard these days,
yeah, yeah,
at most, the way I look at it is you're going to get $3,000 in today's market, right?
yes, I agree.
In a Class A neighborhood, you're only going to get about $3,000, give or take. That is
Yeah,
36,000 a year.
yeah,
So last year alone, and that's not net of all expenses, right? Not net of your
right. That's
mortgage payment,
gross.
correct? That's your
Your
gross.
gross. Yeah.
So in 2023, we managed a property in that same market, and the short-term gross revenue, top line gross revenue that we got for that property was almost $101,000.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you take out all the costs and take out your debt service, you are actually taking home cash flow of about 40% of that.
Okay. So 60% expenses.
60% expenses, your debt service, all of that, give or take. Kind of a rule of thumb in my mind is about 60% goes towards your expenses and your debt service and your ongoing maintenance and replenishing your supplies and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
But you can walk away with somewhere between, 35 and 40,000 in cash versus the long-term rentals. So you see that comparison. So again, picking that market, identifying the property, having the right systems and processes makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And it allows for properties to perform as a buy and hold that otherwise could only be a flip.
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. In fact, my favorite properties, by the way, are the ones that you actually buy, do a rehab, do some value addition to the property, and then rent it as a short-term rental. Because
Mhm.
people, generally speaking, when you buy a short-term rental, they're not necessarily ready to go in terms of a short-term rental. You probably have to paint the place. You probably have to pull out carpet, put in new flooring. You probably have to do half that work anyways. So you know what? Why not buy a fixer-upper and do it, right?
Mhm.
You're adding value to the property. You're making it what an Airbnb or a short-term rental should look like, and you're doing it and you're really making or building equity in the property. So that's my favorite type of property, right? One of my favorite properties, our crowning jewel in our portfolio is a property that we bought at about $1.2 million. We put in about $400,000 in that property, and it's probably worth almost $2.5 million today. This is outside of Austin, and we're going to do over $500,000 on that property this year alone.
Okay.
So I got the benefit of adding equity by improving the property. I actually finished out new space, so I added square footage to the property. I put it in service. I did, and I'm getting a pretty large amount of revenue from the property. So again, done right, there's over $1 million worth of equity in the property today because of the value adds we did, and I'm grossing well over $500,000 a year on it.
Got it. Got it. And then you keep 40% of that, or do you keep more than that?
On the bigger properties, it's slightly more. I do, because it's a property that's very large and we have a lot of events and stuff like that. I actually have a local property manager who helps me out with it. He's more
Okay.
of a concierge person. He's helping us make that property successful. So depending on the type of property, you need someone there as well. And we have a large portfolio, so I can't commit nearly as much time to go earn that money. So he helps me maximize on the property, right? So this is where the team comes into play. There are markets when I don't have my own people. I don't have a team, we're just working with the cleaners and handymen, and that's okay for a regular cabin or a beach house or whatever. That's okay. But
Yeah.
when it comes down to larger, more lifestyle type of properties, major big properties, we have, it's on 10 acres, sleeps almost 26 people right now, and it's generating this revenue. I need some additional help there. We get inquiries every single day for weddings.
Mm.
Every single day, hey, I want to have a wedding with 60, 70 people coming. It's on 10 acres. We can allow up to 70 people at that property, right? That's
Mm.
how we maximize the value of the property. That's how we're able to generate this income. Just
Yeah.
last night, I got a booking that was almost $18,000 for 4 nights.
Wow.
So it's possible,
That's impressive.
right? And it's absolutely
Yeah.
possible. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about, again, what's the approach you take? Who do you work with to actually try and get there? What sort of property? Is the agent you're working with really knowledgeable and does understand short-term rentals and can help you truly evaluate the possibility of that revenue? Because in short-term rentals, it's almost an all or nothing game. If you don't go all in and truly commit and do that work to understand what that property can bring as revenue, if you make that first step, if that first step is wrong, guess what happens? You're in
Everything
a world
else.
of pain. Everything else
Yeah.
crumbles. None of it matters. And now, because the expenses on a short-term rental are much higher. There it
Hmm.
is. It is more forgiving than a long-term rental. In a long-term rental, yeah, you know what? You need to go replace a roof, or you need to replace a hot water heater, or an air conditioner, or a HVAC system. You may wipe out the cash flow for the year, right?
Oh yeah.
In a short-term rental, we do it more freely. We're able to, because we're cash flowing pretty big. I don't mind going replacing that hot water heater for $2,000
Yeah.
because my cash flow can sustain it and I won't end up in negative territory. So that's the next benefit with short-term rentals is one, the property is always kind of in a maintained state, right? You're never letting it kind of fall apart, or just because there's a tenant in there for a year doesn't mean it goes out of maintenance, because every week we have new people coming in. Every week your team goes in and checks the property and makes sure that it's good for the next guest to come in. So it's always kept in top shape. Right? So that's the other benefit I find with short-term rentals. So yeah, there's different ways of skinning the cat. There's different ways of truly making this work, but the
Yeah.
opportunities are out there. So Hon, let's change gears a little bit here. So tell me,
Sure.
what is your curiosity with? You wouldn't have scheduled this call if you weren't curious about it. So tell me, what's your curiosity with short-term rentals?
Well, it's actually your value proposition, right? Because you're putting together this program to help other people, and the success of your program is dependent on the success of the students. And so I was just thinking to myself, well, if this guy is willing to put his, let's say, reputation on the line, if you will,
Yeah,
if he's willing to put his reputation on the line for the success of his students,
yeah,
and I become one of the students, then that just means I'll be successful. And if it just because I've had a bad experience, it doesn't mean that I'm unaware that, hey, Hone, maybe you were the problem. So, I like to look at myself in the mirror all the time and just say, hey, Hone, you just didn't know what you were doing, right? Just like a lot of your students, Hone, they don't know what they're doing, and you show them how to do it right.
yeah,
So let's work with the pros and let's figure out, is there an opportunity here? So you and I are both entrepreneurs
yeah.
and we are always seeking new opportunities, and being able to pivot is a very crucial skill and one that I'm
Absolutely.
always working on. So I'm very quick to pivot, to try new things, to go big, to
Yeah,
go all in, as you mentioned earlier. And if there is genuinely an opportunity for me because of the background that I have, the skill sets that I have, the resources that I have, then hey, why not? Right? I
you're
can't let
absolutely right.
my preconceived notions hold me back from this potential multi-million dollar opportunity here. So, hey, why not? And it's not that I love long-term rentals, not at all.
Yeah,
I was all about the lifestyle. I bought properties that produce passive income, and like, of course, passive, right? Like they produce passive income, and I get to ultimately live the life that I want. And like what you were saying, I buy the property for X dollars, add a little value there, and it's worth this much more. Fantastic. Do that over and over and over, and you're a multimillionaire, right?
yeah,
And it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So being that I've done that with the long term, and you're saying, because I'm only going off of by what you had posted,
yeah.
it's like, you know what? Maybe I can do it again in that space, but this time do it smarter and have someone like yourself who's experienced, who's successful, guiding me. And before I know it, I could be a multimillionaire in short-term rentals as well. So my curiosity just kind of led me here because though I do long-term rentals and though it fits my lifestyle, there are inherent problems with it as well.
Yep.
Some of the tenants I don't like dealing with, even though they're long-term or whatever. They don't pay rent. The rent is barely a couple $100, per month. Water heater roof,
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
wipes out all of my profits, so on, so on, so on. So everything you mentioned is absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
So I take away nothing from that. And so being that it's not perfect on the long-term side, let's see what the short term has
Yep.
again. Let's revisit. And I like what you said earlier, where if the government came in and actually introduced some kind of legislation, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Post post legislation, there's no more surprise.
That's
The
exactly right.
legislation's in place already. Pre legislation, there's like a looming threat that's coming, and you don't know what it's going to be. You don't know how strict it's going to be. You don't know what requirements it's going to be. You don't know what you're going to be allowed to do. But afterwards, you do. And
That's
so
absolutely right. Absolutely right.
that right there, my friend,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like, see, little nuggets like
Yeah.
that. I knew talking to someone as knowledgeable as yourself, I could gain something like that. And so just right there has you've already demonstrated that Hone, there's ways to look at this that you may not be or you may not have considered. And so here we are. And I'm glad
No.
I hopped on here.
No, no, and it's actually really interesting how a lot of people, and especially in the last couple of years during COVID, a lot of people jumped into this.
Yep.
And what they didn't realize is that there's more to it than meets the eye, and you can't just jump it. Oh, I'm going to list furnish my property, list it on Airbnb. It's going to be we're going to make do wonders, right? It doesn't work that way. So just to give you an example, you were talking about the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Last year, I spent over 8 weeks on the road. We're managing a portfolio of almost 9 of our own properties and 20 of others, right? And I spent 9 weeks on the road. I went to India, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, okay?
Wow.
Peru, Machu Picchu, Patagonia, which is our Chile and Argentina. This is all eight
Wow.
weeks worth of travels with my wife and my kids. My kids are 9, 9, 11. And guess what? My team and the processes handled the business, right? I didn't need to, I may have worked, I'll say 10 minutes a day, right?
Sure.
And this, by the way, includes me acquiring a property, renovating it from scratch, complete gut job, flooring, paint, bathrooms, all of it, and launching it without me ever seeing it. So is it
Wow.
possible? It's absolutely possible. That's why I talk to people about the freedoms. I came, as an immigrant to this country 20 years ago, right? And I was able to come today. I'm in a state where I can be free of, working a 9 to 5 job and working with someone that I don't like and being tied to a paycheck.
Yeah.
Right, here I am on a Monday morning chatting with you versus, rushing out, sitting in traffic at 8 a.m. and going to work. And that's
Understood.
what those are the freedoms we're talking about. And that's
Yes.
what I think is what people need to look forward to see how they can make that happen. And I do believe that's a possibility still.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely know it's true. You
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
both know it's true
yeah,
because we're both living examples of it. Now, really, this conversation is like, okay, guys, how do you take what you have and make it even more? And that's what's cool, right?
exactly,
That's what you get to
exactly.
do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my that's really what I do on a daily basis, and it's absolutely spectacular. And my goal again is to take this to as many people as I can. I'd love to take this to as many people and help them understand how to make this happen. Because when I was trying to start in this almost 4 or 5 years ago, nobody would speak. Nobody would say anything. Nobody would tell me, this is how you go about doing it. This is what you do. This is what you put in place.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's people don't necessarily have that abundance mindset. Their scarcity mindset holds them back from helping anyone. And
Right.
that's what I'm here to change. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Hey, man, you're doing a great job, right? Just from this little
Yeah.
conversation, I'm already feeling the little tug in my heart, like, oh, he's on to something, Hone, you know a lot, but this is where you get to learn a lot. And
Yeah.
I'm already feeling that there's a huge opportunity here. And because I have the experience of a lot of different things already,
Yeah.
to take those experiences and skill sets and just apply it here, it's not going to take that much.
No, it's flexibility and being able to adapt. What people don't realize is if you're not flexible, be able to take the skills you have, add on, stack on a few more, and take
That's
things to the
it.
next level. That's all it takes. You don't have to change completely. It's what you already know half the stuff. It's about
Right.
morphing into the next best version of yourself and taking things to the next level. And that's absolutely possible.
Yeah, this actually sounds like one of those 2 degree moments, right? You know how they say like you
Yeah,
just shifted 2 degrees and a long enough time horizon and you're a completely different place.
absolutely, absolutely.
I could essentially take the equity in my portfolio.
Yeah.
Let's say I sell the properties that I hate, right? So I'm gonna sell my whole portfolio, take all of the equity, 1031 it into whatever properties, right? Buy the next
Yeah,
properties and
yeah,
then do what you're talking about. And that 2 degree shift of like, hey, this equity into these properties, no
yeah,
additional money out of your pocket, honed, right? No additional
yeah,
money. You just switch over. You go from like, let's say you're making $10,000 a month to now you're
yeah.
making $30,000 a month.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's
Same
the
shift.
power. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
power of the short-term rentals, right? That's what
Right.
happens. And
Right.
honestly, that's why I got into it because I didn't want to deal with a few $100s a week, a month on a door and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, multifamily, 24 units. That's awesome. Let's go make $100 each. Guess what happens? I made 2,400 bucks this month after buying a
Yeah. Yeah.
million
Yeah.
dollar property, right? So that's what it
Right.
wasn't a big thing for me. And I said, I'm going to go all in and do the short-term rental thing. And it was absolutely spectacular, game changer for me.
Yeah. No, this is exciting. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very open-minded to
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like I just wanted to share with you
yeah.
my past, and
Oh, I'm
I'm well aware it was not a great experience, but partially it wasn't initially determined to be a short-term rental. It was
yep.
like, oh, let me just try to make quick money. And there's no quick money in this world.
Absolutely,
You got to do a
absolutely,
lot of things with intention. And so,
absolutely.
and then here's the other cool part. The properties that I own as long-term rentals, like I wouldn't even live there. Now,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
beautiful. They're
yeah.
beautiful properties because I do really great work at them. But I wouldn't live there because they're in neighborhoods that I wouldn't want to live in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it sounds like the properties that I could be buying that could be cash flowing and making me $250,000 a year net, right?
Yeah.
They sound like these are properties I would live in, I would vacation in, I
Oh,
would be proud to own, and all of that.
what's amazing is, we took my kids to tennis yesterday. Okay. And there's
Yep.
a tennis team, and we went to ice cream after. And then I told my wife, I said, "Hey, why don't we find a tennis tournament close to Austin, where one of our properties is? It'd be so cool to take the team over. They play tennis, they stay at our place, they can party. We have a pool and all that stuff. That sort of experience that you can create for the family along with it, and they're building these lifelong memories with their friends. That's unbelievable. In
Oh,
fact,
sell it to me.
yeah,
Sell it to me. Come on.
in 2 weeks we're headed to Gulf Shores, right at the beach, and we're gonna go stay at our own property. It's great, people love it, and we might as well go enjoy it for a weekend, right? We're taking a long weekend and going to have a good time there. So yes,
Yeah.
every single one of these is one that I would love to go hang out at and have a great time. The only thing stops me is that it keeps printing money. I can't just go keep
You can't
using
just
it.
stay there, right? Because then you stop the printer.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's yes, it's every single one of them is one that I'd stay in. Every single one is where the guests who come in are having an absolutely spectacular experience. And that's the other thing. I'm not just giving someone a roof. I'm giving someone memories for life. They're coming to
Yeah.
stay with us to make memories with their family. This is their one annual vacation, right?
Right.
And they're coming there, and our goal is to maximize that guest experience for them. And that's what we excel at. That's what we do when we manage properties for others. Every single one is a 5-star review, and yes, we had the greatest time of our life, and we're coming back. We've built a business now that gives us almost 25% direct bookings, right? Which is difficult. It's not easy to market your properties. I got a call just yesterday saying, "Hey, we saw your property on Facebook. Can we do it?" So there's a lot that goes into it, the marketing that goes into it, the repeat customers that go into it. I get called saying, "Hey, a friend of mine stayed at your property in the past. We want to book your property," right? So you need to create that experience. You need to create that marketing channel. You need to keep pushing the properties, and the property is going to has to provide that value for the guest. And as long as you do that, you're creating some amazing memories for these families, right? And that's what I
Right.
enjoy. So yeah, I could provide them a shelter and possibly even deal with a bad tenant, or I could provide them a phenomenal experience at a property with their family, where they're remembering for life and saying, "This is absolutely spectacular. I had the time of my life," right? So that's where
Yeah.
I choose the latter, and that's what I like the most.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like I didn't get into real estate because I love real estate. Not at
Yeah,
all. Like not
yeah,
even a little bit, right? I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and
yeah,
that's where I learned the concept of passive income and that real estate can do that. And then real estate being so widely accepted, it's easy to get financing for real estate. Everybody understands it. There's
yeah,
so much money
yeah.
out there allocated for real estate. So that's why I do it. I'm not, how do I say this? I'm not stuck
Hmm.
on long-term rentals in Class
Yeah,
C neighborhoods.
yeah,
That was the opportunity that
yeah,
came up. And what's crazy is even in long-term Class A or Class C rentals, like you can create massive wealth, but it's not necessarily anything I care about.
yep.
I do it, I've been successful at it, but I'm at the point where I can also be successful at a lot of different
Yeah,
things.
give it a shot. You never know, man. I'll tell you, for me, it's been a game changer. 3.5 years, I changed the complete trajectory of my life. I changed exactly where we are at this point in life today is because we've made those changes, right? And give it a
Yeah.
shot. You never know. And it's been for us been absolutely spectacular, game changer for myself and my kids and my wife. But yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, just giving real estate a shot
Oh,
was a
absolutely.
game changer, right? Just
Yeah,
just
yeah,
being in real estate was a game changer. And now what you're saying is, okay, Hone, within the real estate space, give this a shot, like this one
yeah.
nuance, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, all right, yeah, I'm not opposed to it, not
Awesome.
opposed to it. So yeah, love to dive deeper into it and see what's possible because I already know what's possible in real estate. So
Yeah.
now what's possible in this short-term real estate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So you seem to have alleviated some of the risk factors that are in my head. Um, one being that there that government thing, right? It's like if the government thing is not going to be a concern, then we're good.
Yep.
We're good, right? If the government thing's not a concern, then we're good. And then in terms of management, well, it seems like the management and the occupancy is a byproduct of the location. And if we pick a better location that's more desirable, though we may pay more, but if we can find a location that's more desirable, but has already had legislation put into place, that property could be pumping cash for the long term
Yep.
and systems and processes and SOPs and all of those
Yeah.
kind of things
Yeah.
when implemented and treated like a real business, then this could
Absolutely.
be a fantastic opportunity.
Absolutely. And as I still don't believe people say all the time, oh, this is passive income. You're going to make all this money passively. And in my opinion, there is no passive income, man. There you have to work for money. Doesn't matter what you do. Even if
Right.
you're in just regular
Passive.
long-term real estate, there is work. There's nothing called passive, right? And
Yep.
especially not in short term because you're basically working on a hospitality model, right? You're
Right.
making sure, like I said, you're making memories for these people.
You're a
They're
hotel
paying,
owner.
yeah, they're paying thousands of dollars to come stay with you because that's their one big vacation of the year. Do you want to really make them feel horrible? No, you want to give them that the best memory they can, and
Right.
that's what it's all about. So you go in with that mindset that it's going to take work, but with the right systems and processes, it can be done. So that's where the mindset comes in. The shift in mindset, the way you do things, has to change, and that's what it's all about. Yeah, it's a so definitely, what I would suggest is um, reevaluate, identify. Actually, you brought up a very important point, especially if you have Class C properties that you're sitting on. You may have added in enough value that there's a lot of equity built into it.
Mm-hmm.
I did something similar. It wasn't a Class C, it was a Class B plus property
Sure.
that grew in value by about, I'll say at least 25%. And
Yeah.
I did a 1031 exchange. So I went from a property that did about 40,000 a year in revenue, gross revenue, as a midterm. It was a midterm rental. right?
Oh, it was a midterm too. Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And I took that and I flipped it into, I took the equity from it and I bought a property that was a fixer-upper, not even a fix, it needed some rehab for about 850. I put in about 150. So with little to no additional cash out of my pocket, I took that property and 1031 it into a bigger property at the beach that was just over $1 million in me, after I'd done all the renovations. And that property will gross me over 160,000 this year.
Mm,
And do the
mm.
math, right? 40%.
Yeah.
So that's where, again, pick one, give it a shot, see where you've got some equity built in, and just make that shift, and you'll see a huge difference. And now all of a sudden you're able to take that additional cash flow and snowball into bigger properties and newer properties. Slowly your portfolio starts to grow, actually at a much quicker pace than with a long-term rental, and that's the way I did it, right? So I
Yeah.
really liked it. Like I said, for me, things got to a point now where I'm actually taking midterm properties and moving them into short term, not even long term.
Yeah.
So it's been really amazing for me.
What just completely tangent conversation, but the income that you're receiving from these short-term rentals, is your accountant treating it as like ordinary income or more like the passive income, or are you not sure? Like how is that being treated? So is this
So
active income and losses, or is it more of like the passive income and
so you
losses?
bring up an excellent point. Okay, one of the other reasons why I actually got into short-term rentals. This is reason number 849.
Yeah, for 4,000, 3,300. Yeah,
So short-term rentals are considered non-passive activity.
there it is. There it is. Offset your
Okay?
W-2.
Exactly. So I had a big W-2 job, and I basically used my short-term rentals to offset my W-2. Long terms, multifamily, single family, they all qualify for, as per the IRS, they all fall into the passive income bucket. They're considered rental activity.
There it
Which
is.
with short-term rentals, because and as long as the average length of stay is 7 days or less, which every property I had is, right? It's a short-term rental. Nobody stays there for over a week. Sometimes they
Yeah.
do, but the average is always below 7 days. As long as it's 7 days or less, and you are materially participating in managing it, you can write off your W-2 income.
There it is.
So, in fact, we're launching at the second half of this year. In July, we're going to launch a program that is purely for high income professionals who are looking to offset their W-2 income.
Perfect.
We're going to
Little
help them.
syndication, little LP action there.
Not even.
Not
This is
even. Okay.
literally going to be helping you acquire a
Okay.
short-term rental,
To
put
offset
it in
your income.
service, you manage it, we support you.
Right.
And January 1st, we roll that property into our property management portfolio, kind of a turnkey thing where you manage it for a few months, take your tax write-off, we take it over Jan 1st. You don't need to be the expert in short-term rentals anymore. You just bought the property. You own this
Yep.
awesome property now. You got the big tax write-off because it's a short-term
Yep.
rental,
Yep.
and you're getting good cash flow, and you turn it over to us on January 1st. And when we're underwriting the deal, we're already putting in our property management fee in there. So as long as the
Sure.
numbers make sense, what do you care?
What? Right.
It's
Exactly.
a win-win
Exactly.
for everyone, and so we'll be launching that sometime in July, towards the second half of July this year, because we get a
I
lot of people wanting that service.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You know, if those who are listening to this, I mean, playing the tax game is one of the most profitable games you got to learn how to play.
Yeah,
And so what you're saying is a huge, huge thing if people don't realize already from this
yeah,
conversation.
absolutely. So there's several opportunities, and you probably heard of this, the accelerated depreciation going back to 100%.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
yeah, yeah.
it's
That's the
not it's
rumors,
not
right?
it's not passed yet, but you know what? If that passes, you got 5 years to build up massive amounts of wealth that'll basically change your life. And that exciting for everyone. If that
Yes.
passes, man, I'll tell you, this is a game changer in the space for every high income professional out there.
So if the person's an LP, do they also, if we do a syndication and they're an LP, do they also qualify for these non-passive losses? or no?
No, not for short-term rental, because one of the
Okay.
key things is that you have to materially participate in
Materially
it.
participate. Material
But
participate. Yeah.
exactly. So, but there's plenty of people who've got enough passive income that they need to offset with something.
They
They need the
fine. It's
losses.
like,
But
there you go.
that now becomes a regular syndication. You can go buy a laundromat or whatever and still do it, right?
Yeah.
This one is actually a supercharged way for people with W-2. W-2 is the highest tax income you will ever
Oh
earn,
yeah.
right?
Right.
So this is the money that you have. You have the opportunity to shelter that income. So year two, you take the tax savings, right, that you sheltered from your W-2 at a 35% rate or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You add in this additional cash flow that you get that's so big, so much bigger.
Right.
That just those two components alone will allow you to buy your second property.
Right.
Now it compounds, your cash flow is higher, you get another tax break. If you just keep rolling it this way for 5 years, where you add in all your tax savings and all your cash flow, you could be owning a multi-million-dollar portfolio in many years. I know several people who are doing it right now. So yeah, that's exactly how I did it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be your next success story to be like,
Yeah.
wow, look at
Yeah.
Hoan. He built a $10 million portfolio in a year and a half.
If you're disciplined, you know what? Sky's the limit.
Disciplined Michelin. We make magic happen, man. Come on.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all. That's all. We just go a little sprinkle
yeah.
here, a sprinkle there, and before we know it, multi-millions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome.
Yeah, it's not as hard as people think, especially if
No,
you have the right skill sets and the right people, the right
that's
guide, then
exactly it.
it's super fast,
That's
super easy.
exactly it. Yep.
Yeah.
You need to have someone guide you the way, and that's what we're here for. So yeah, again, whatever we can help with, just reach out. And you know where to find us, and if there's anything we can answer for you, you want to get on this podcast again, you want to get a free coaching session one-on-one to go through this process, we can certainly do it with you. So yeah,
Yeah.
listeners, feel free to reach out, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna wear a t-shirt with your face on it.
Thanks, Hoan. Yep, I appreciate that.
Thank you for joining us on Vacation Rental Mastery. Don't forget to subscribe and tune in for our next episode, where the journey to financial freedom and lifestyle flexibility continues. Here's to your success in the exciting world of vacation rentals.